January 1999. Time to party. Because we all know the world's going to come to an end at the end of 1999. That whole Y2K thing, we're in trouble. I was still working at Frame Art at this time. I believe I was still in the Woodmere location. Yeah, I was there for a while. Don't remember much else. Just living my life, reading some books. So let's dive in. The first book that I read in January of 1999 was Demon Knight by J. Michael Straczynski. No relation to the fantastic Tales from the Crypt movie. Demon Knight is about this guy who, excuse me, has these recurring nightmares of his parents dying in a car crash. And when he wakes up, his apartment is trashed. Like every time. He wakes up from these nightmares, his apartment is trashed. So he eventually decides to go back to his home where his parents died in a car crash. And it's just a small town, but it is the center of a battle between good and evil. And somehow he's involved. It's pretty good. I like J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5. He's written some pretty good comics. I've mentioned before, he has written one of the most hated Spider-Man stories of all time. But other than that, I like a lot of the stuff that he's done. I've never actually read that Spider-Man story. I understand why it's disliked, but it's probably at the very least well written, I would guess. But anyway, J. Michael Straczynski, very, very interesting person. And this is a fun horror novel. Then we have, you'll have to excuse me, I started using a new pen, and it wrote very lightly. Not nearly as dark as in the previous year. I actually used it to write down the last book in December of 1998. And there's a marked difference. So I may have to peer a little more closely at the list. But book number 2 for January 1999, excuse me, The Essential World of Darkness, edited by Stuart Week, if that's how you say his name, and Anna Branscombe, again, if that's how you say her name. So The Essential World of Darkness is basically, I think it's 5 novellas, short stories, novellas, but it features, each one features one of the 5 major factions, worlds. I mean, it's all one world. Well, what we have here, we have a story that features Vampire the Masquerade, one that features Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension, Wraith the Oblivion, and Changeling the Dreaming. Vampire and Werewolf, I think, are pretty self-explanatory what those deal with. Mage is modern day, typically modern day magicians, sorcerers, what have you. Wraith is the ghost world, and Changeling is, fairies and that kind of, the fae, that kind of thing. Of course, they're all in the same world. But this is a book that gives you a taste of each of these things, and they're all based on role-playing games, and there were card games for most of these. I think the standout here, the important thing is that one of these was written by Owl Going Back, Shaman's Moon. But just a book to give you a taste of the worlds of the World of Darkness, and it's decent. It's not the best World of Darkness stuff, not the least World of Darkness stuff. Then we have the one book that I have with me, dropped my pen. We have X-Men Soul Killer by Richard Lee Byers. And if you look, you can clearly see Dracula right there. So Belasco is this demon, and he's trying to open up the gates that will let the elder gods into the world. He has kidnapped Rogue to use her to do this. Of course, the X-Men want to stop him, but Dracula wants to stop him too. But you can't trust old Dracula. Excalibur, uh, the team, not the sword, are in this as well. And you know, it's something I'm going to read because it's got Dracula in it. I love Tomb of Dracula from Marvel Comics, their version, Marvel's version of Dracula. And I have a book up on the wall somewhere that is X-Men versus Dracula. Dracula was in love with Storm. Um, and Excalibur's a fun team with Captain Britain and Nightcrawler and um, all of them, Megan. So, a fun X-Men novel. Regular viewers know I'm not the biggest X-Men fan, but you throw in Dracula and Excalibur, and I think you're going to get a pretty good story. I think you do get a pretty good story. That was followed by Trouble Man by Ed Gorman. This is a Western. The main character is Ray Coyle. He was a gunfighter for a long time, and then he retired, and he's become a sharpshooter in a Wild West show. But he finds out that his son has been killed in a gunfight, so he goes to this town, Coopersville, to pick up his son's body. But of course, things aren't necessarily what they seem. It's Ed Gorman. It's good. It's a Western. It's a good Western. I followed that with God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater by Kurt Vonnegut. And this is essentially about a guy named Elliot Rosewater. He comes from an incredibly rich family. He's gotten millions of dollars from this charity that was essentially just a tax write-off, and he decides he's actually going to use it as a charity and start giving money away, and his family wants to stop him. One of them wants to prove that he's crazy, so he loses control of the funds, and excuse me, lots of crazy Kurt Vonnegut characters. A look at socialism versus capitalism. Not one of my favorite Kurt Vonnegut's. Not one of the worst Kurt Vonnegut's. Then we have The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy and Other Stories by Tim Burton. This is an illustrated book with 23 stories. And they're all... It's very Edward Gorey type of stuff. Adam's Family, it's weird. There's the boy with nails in his eyes, and they're rhyming little stories. I don't remember if they all rhyme, but I think most probably do, rhyming little stories about just weird kids, either trying to fit in or the horrible things they go through because they don't fit in. I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan. He's made some movies that I like. Actually, some movies that I love. I love Beetlejuice. But overall, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Tim Burton. But I wanted to check this out, and it's a fun little thing. And if you are a Tim Burton fan, especially a fan of things like The Nightmare Before Christmas, wow, Corpse Bride, even though I know he didn't direct those, I think you'd like this. I followed that up with Virtual Unrealities by Alfred Bester. This is a short story collection. It has 17 stories, 2 of which are new, and it's just weird science fiction. Some have maybe a touch of the fantastic. I don't want to say fantasy. So you have, there's post-apocalyptic worlds and all sorts of different stuff. It's a nice taste of Alfred Bester. If you've ever wanted to give him a try, check this out, get a feel for what his writing is like. Then we're coming up on a couple of really good ones here. Excuse me. Angel Souls and Devil Hearts by Christopher Golden. This is the second book in his vampire series that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. So, slight spoilers if you haven't read the first book. But after the events of the first book, the world knows that vampires and other things exist. So this book focuses on there's a battle between hell and earth, but a lot of the focus is on humans dealing with the fact that vampires exist. Vampires now trying to coexist peacefully with humans. Meanwhile, this crazy battle is going on. More and more of the supernatural is being revealed to the regular world. Um, it's really, really good. Good, excuse me. And when I get to the third book, and there's more than three, but the first three really fit well together. When I get to the third book, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how all this sort of the first three books work. But Angel Souls and Devil Hearts, Christopher Golden, fantastic book. And then we have Shattered by Richard Neely. Now, this is a noir published, at least you can get it, I think, from Black Lizard, I think is the publisher that does a lot of noir stuff, Jim Thompson and that sort of thing. And this was made into a movie. I believe Tom Berenger, and I don't remember the woman that was in it, but basically, this guy wakes up in the hospital with amnesia, and he was in a coma after a horrible accident, and his wife has been by his side. He had to have reconstructive surgery, but things aren't. His head's his like brain, his memories are all messed up, and it seems that people are after him. So he's got to figure out what the hell's going on. I saw the movie and loved it at the time. I may have to revisit it. Maybe it's not quite as good as I remember. But decided to read the book. Really enjoy the book. Highly recommended if you like noir and Shattered, Richard Neely. And then finally, the last book that I read in January of 1999, and I know I doubt very highly that I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, because it's got a C with a little dangly part. They Fly at Saran by Samuel R. Delany. And Saran is just this little peaceful place. Just a little tiny peaceful place. And the only problem is there's these black winged things flying around over the town, city, whatever it is. And then when these people come and basically invade, they're just like, oh, look at that little peaceful place. Let's tear it up. The people of Saran make a deal with the black winged things, and stuff happens. This is all from me reading about it on Amazon because I don't remember anything about it. I couldn't even tell you if it was good or not. I know I haven't read a lot of Samuel R. Delany, so I don't know that this could have been too good, or you'd see like a bunch of Samuel R. Delany coming up on the list. Spoilers, we're not going to see that. But anyway, that could be for other people. I don't know. That's it. That's what I read in January of 1999. Question for this video. I want to just ask, have you read Samuel R. Delany? And what did you think? So I'll throw that out there, but that's not the real question. The thing is, I don't really have a real question. You know what? Are you a fan of Tim Burton? Are you not a fan? What's your favorite Tim Burton movie? Why are you a fan? Why aren't you a fan? Let's just talk Tim Burton, since I read that Tim Burton book. As I have already said, not a huge fan. I can tell you, Beetlejuice, my favorite Tim Burton movie. I absolutely love it. Thought it was hilarious. That might have more to do with Michael Keaton than Tim Burton. I can't say. But I do like his Batman movie for what it is. I don't think it's a perfect Batman movie. I'm not a big fan of Jack Nicholson. But I do enjoy that. His two Batman movies. I actually like the first one better. I know a lot of people like the second one better, but what are you going to do? I thought Sleepy Hollow was okay, and I even saw Edward Scissorhands in the theater, but I'm not a huge fan. I cannot stand his Planet of the Apes. I'm not going to say I hate it because it's just a movie. Why would I hate a movie? I'm going to pick something up over here because it was bugging me. But I'm not a fan of his Planet of the Apes at all. Have no interest in his Alice in Wonderland movies or his Willy Wonka movie. He just, I mean, he found an aesthetic that works for him and just went all out with it. It's just not my thing. Well, what about you? I'm not going to judge anyone for being a Tim Burton fan. So let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I have for you this week. So until next week, read more books.